Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank for this invitation on behalf of AICARR, which I represent here. AICARR is the Italian Association of Heating, Ventilating and Air Conditioning. It's very important a moment like this in order to exchange information between industry and stakeholders and try to form our engineers in innovation in technology. So I'm very glad for doing this. My presentation in 15 minutes, no more, 20 more, no more, yes, is related to the energy efficiency strategies. In a particular way, this morning somebody talked about the importance of develop another part of our work, which is more directly related to the social aspect. And as I will say in this presentation, it will be very important, our own job on this, not only as technicians, but also with communicators. A brief overview about energy efficiency, but more of this thing you already know very well. This is in Europe, the situation in Europe. Of course, now presently energy efficiency is one of the 5 pillars of the so-called energy union. The other are security of energy, the European market, the decarbonization of economy. I want to highlight that the word is decarbonization of economy, not decarbonization of energy, as it is. And the last one is the research, of course. Our sector, our job is very important because we are working on building sector and we give energy for the building sector. Heating and cooling sector constitute the 50% of the European energy uses. 80% in the building sector, if you consider also the industry sector. In the European Union, 45% of heating and cooling the 40% of energy use is domestic, 37% industry, and 80% services. Till to now, 75%, as I said before, or heating and cooling energy is up to fossil fuels. There is a very important European Parliament resolution. This one. Very new because it was in 3 months ago issues. And they said, the Parliament said that there is no fine, complete execution in energy efficiency. And this could be a mandatory target in 2030. The Parliament says a target of 40%. But the information of today, right today, is that the Commission stated 30% as a target for 2030. But the fact is, in the information coming for today, European Commission say something very interesting for us, because this target means that there is some of 180 billions of public and private investment in this field, in the field of energy efficiency, starting from 2020 on toward 2030. And this means that there is the forecast of an increase of 1% of GDP, of European GDP for this. And there is also 1 million of new occupancies on this topic. Because if you high the level of the target, of course you need money on this. You have to put money on this. And this seems the road of our European Commission. We give money on research as well, of our job and for our topic in order to tend to reach that goal. And this is the reason why the so-called energy finance is very important. We have to move from an old economic market to a new market, completely different market. And you know what happened with Horizon 2020, for example. The money that Horizon give us for energy efficiency is greater, is much greater than the renewable energy sources. But this money looks like a new, completely new vision of the economic and financial market. For example, Italy changed its agency for development, as in France, as in Germany, as in another, with another goal. The goal is to make money in some infrastructural objective, which means long-term investment. Long-term investment, we don't know what it is till now, because we think about very short investment. You know what is the economic bubble, for example. We invest about anything, and somebody can become rich or poor about anything. Long-term investment means to put money in infrastructure, as the network realization, talking about our matter is smart grid, for example. Strategy infrastructure nodes, which means distributed generation of energy, and of course building retrofitting. There are infrastructure as the core of new business model in a long-term investment. So this, I close the fact that we now have very strictly target for 2030 because we are going in this direction. And of course we need a strategy to do this. If you think about long term, you need a strategy. And this is a proposal that AICARR made for the strategy till 2050 in Italy. This is for Italy, but it's just the first.
And then first.
Just the first. And this is for Italy, but this is as an example. As you can see here, very briefly, we have to create a roadmap for a decreasing of consumption till to 50%. Starting from the point, the baseline of today's consumption. Of course, the electrification of consumption is the very important target goal. And because of that, because electrification is a sustainability tool, because of its compatibility with renewables, and because there is compatibility with distributed energy generation. Thinking about GHP, for example, combined heat and power plants. The final renewable implementation in order to reach 100% in 2050, but with a step in 2030 that I can see 65%. This is a step forward, this. And of course, in order to do this, it's very important to have a companion measure, strategic measure about storage. The storages is very important, also in a small sites, domestic sites, because each family has to be involved directly in this matter. The energy, of course, information technology. It's another important things. Just to have a look, there are two different, two very quick picture. This is a report of ENEA. ENEA is the Italian Research Institute of Environment. With ENI is the one very big industry in oil and gas in Italy. And if they together say that the consumption, this is final energy consumption by sector, this is the different sector, in 2050 is almost 50% of the target, we can believe, because this is oil and gas industry, not the most important environmental institution in the world. So this means that we have to reach this. You can see here two different strategies, but more or less we have to go down of 50%. Yes, and this is incredible figure, because talking about the different sources, we can see that we don't have gas anymore. Talking about fossil gas, of course, we will need of gas in the future, of course, another kind of gas, not this. If any says that in one strategy, for example this, you don't have gas anymore in 2050, it's a problem. A good problem for us, because for us it means that we have to work very hard in order to reach this figure, but it's something very important to state. So, going down very quickly. There are tools for action, which concern, of course, which concern the best available technology. Heat pumps, micro CHP, district heating, storages, cooling system with renewable. There is also very important tools, because we now have certification about energy audit. When I say now, since 2 years, we have this accountability, individual, for example, accountability, and also other figure certified. But all of this in a strategy, put in a strategy, as we've seen before, is related to the importance of smart energy system to implement the energy program as a whole. What is an energy system? I don't want to go on in detail. Probably you said before something about this. But we have to match 3 different categories of consumption, generally speaking, electricity, heating, and transportation, with only with renewable. On the left side, you have only the possibility to have renewable in order to face our consumption. How to do this? By means of a series of technology which already exist right now, concerning, as you can see here, micro-cogeneration system, micro-cogeneration because we are related to diffuse, distributed energy generation, with heat pump, of course, and we can use all kinds of pump, as I say in ingredients, and synthetic gases as well, coming from biogas, biofuels. There is a lot of work that we have done in our experience, in our lab, And just to have a look to some statement you can see here, the importance of so-called electrofuels in transportation, which means power to gas, electricity to gas, in order to produce synthetic and natural fuel, biological fuel, as, for example, hydrogen. Hydrogen is very important issue for this kind of our future. It's very important to do this. Of course, there is a lot of things, because in our lab we have the experimentation of a microgrid. I don't want to go in detail in this figure, but we have a microgrid in which insists a lot of microgeneration system as an engine, internal combustion engine, but also microturbine and so on. We have the preparation of hydrogen with using just renewable. We have a very interesting field here of hybrid photovoltaic and thermal solar collectors here, and we use this kind of energy, including hydrogen, in a mixture of natural gas for transportation, but also in directly uses to supply fuel cell like this or something like that. In order to say this, there is, for example, the development of the gas heat pump. Gas heat pump right now can utilize hydrogen in a mixture of natural gas with the existing burner, without very small modification. But we want to go on for the future development, in which we can use a catalytic burner with directly supply with hydrogen. Okay, I finished my presentation. Of course, there is a very important research activity on the basis to produce hydrogen with electricity, for example, electrolyzer coming from photovoltaics. But we can combine hydrogen with methane in order to have hydromethane, which is till to 30% of hydrogen, so it's a part of natural biofuel. But we have also connected this kind of hydrogen coming from renewables with CO2 coming from atmosphere, for example, as a tool of capture, in order to, with this system called methanation, in order to produce biomethane. This is methane, but just renewable methane. So we can continue to use our natural gas in this direction. Okay, I go on very quickly because I have just 2 or 3 minutes. But I want to say that our calculation, of course, support this kind of direction of our systems. Systems in order to face this kind of consumption. From one side, the consumption go down till to 50% of the actual. In the other side, efficiency and renewable go up, and so the mixture of two is the final goal of 100% of renewable. Last aspect is the involvement of end user. Now we call him prosumers, which means to combine together not only the act of consumption, but also that of production. This means that we have to change the mentality and the behavior of each individual. This is what European Commission says very well. Until to now, we, of course, don't make a lot of things in this direction. The process is this. At the end of the process, in the time being, we have to reach the fact that each individual can manage this matter of energy. Starting from a very passive way, when without knowing what kind of energy with price of and with cost of energy, we was using, supporting just the consumption. Now we have to go on. For example, tools are already existing in United States and in UK, for example. There is the new role, the aggregator of energy. In Italy, we are moving now the first step of this, which means a figure here in the middle between the distributors of energy and the final client, right, end user, which aggregate the packs of energy in a certain way in order to negotiate with the distributor and to find the best cost optimization. Just to have a very quick look about the social target of our job, of our task. The Parliament resolution stated the centrality of end user. The same make the European Commission. The increase of the so-called fuel poverty needs a very strong contrast coming from energy efficiency. Energy efficiency is the first step in order to contrast the fuel poverty. And because exists this so-called fuel poverty, because raw material costs are increasing, because there are a cost of the policies of climate change, and because, this is very interesting, presently the renewable are the cost in charge of the people. And this is very strange, because if you think about the subsidies that you give to the fossil fuel, and the fact they are much more than the incentive for renewable. You see the figure before, and the fact that now the development of renewable are in charge of each of us. This is strange, because this is one of the reason why we are living such a crucial and critical event like this. Because if you see the figure in Europe, we have 100 billion people in fuel poverty, which means 1%, more than 10% of the people in Italy, for example, is living in extremely poverty, which means they are enabled to get energy services and goods at a minimum level. If you think about another kind of poverty, the relative poverty, which means if you make the average of our income of each of us, and you are under this level, you have a poverty. Because generally speaking, this average level is low, it's not so high, because the rich people are very few. So this means that more or less each of us are related to this problem. And it's a big problem. Now we are in the position in which this problem can explode, becoming more important, or going down and reduce it. In order to do this, we need something very important thing. First of all, investment in energy efficiency and in renewable in the frame of the so-called structural investment funding. Something like that. We'll already lost 2 years, because now we are in 2016. And this kind of fund, structural, infrastructure, energy investment is already started. Each state member must put 20% of the European social